Hi, welcome to Clutter Bravado.
Yes, and it's the energy. It's not just about the stuff.
So we should probably just get into it, right?
Let's go.
Hello?
Good morning.
How are you?
Good on the first day of spring.
Oh, lovely on the first day of spring, the spring equinox. I actually, this is when it is equal parts day and night. Did you
Is
know
it?
that? Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's how but I love that it's spring now. It's so funny because I'm from Wisconsin and like this means nothing because it would still continue to snow for like another
Right.
month or so. Like it wouldn't actually be a genuinely nice day until about May.
Yeah, today is gorgeous. How is your training going?
My marathon training?
Yeah.
Thank you for asking. It's going really well. Yesterday was like one of the most beautiful days ever. I think the weather was perfect. The sky was blue. Everything was sunny and nice. I feel like everyone I encountered was in a good mood. It was just the vibration in Los Angeles was different yesterday. It was wonderful. And I woke up right away. Did not want to go for a run, but I did. And I ran 3 miles for the first time.
That's impressive.
Can you run 3 miles?
No,
No.
I don't run.
You don't have any desire to run 3 miles, do you?
No. I mean, I guess the French bike,
Yeah.
which I don't either.
You okay?
Somehow I don't run either.
Yeah.
No,
You don't like jog or nothing?
I mean,
You go for walks. That's good.
I go for walks.
But
I do the old man thing.
I
Just
should
kidding.
take you on a run with me. Because for the next tomorrow and on Sunday, Sunday's actually really fun because I'm running with my girls for our long run for the week. So every Sunday we're going to be doing our long runs together and I'm so excited about that.
Where are you going?
Santa Monica.
Ooh.
So yeah, I know.
The boardwalk?
Yeah, well,
Oh,
I
pretty.
think like somewhere over there.
Maybe I'll come.
No.
Yes,
It's
I
for
could
the
have brunch at.
No.
I could have brunch at that hotel. What's the Shutters? Could have brunch at Shutters. You go run, and then it'd be great. I would love to be, but
You're just gonna-
sorry. Oh, you. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna come run with you.
No. No. You would come. Okay. You were ridiculous. You would show up to my run and then you'd be like, oh, well, good luck. I'm going to go eat eggs.
Exactly.
Rude.
You're right. So, taking me for a run. Good luck. Yes, maybe.
Yeah, but I
We've
feel like
gone
you
on
should
the
come.
hikes.
Yeah,
that,
we have.
That we've
Yes,
gone on the hikes,
yes.
which I love.
Hiking is fun.
Hiking is fun. Somehow, running is too painful.
That's the whole point, though.
I'm not into pain.
Okay, but like meditation. Okay, so like, do you meditate?
Yes.
Yes. So in meditation, you get to a point where your brain starts to get really loud or like something, you're thinking about something or a thought comes in. And the whole purpose of meditation is to return back to whatever your point of focus is on, whether it's your breath or
Right.
whether it's a mantra, whatever it is, to guide you back into a clarity of mind and just sort of like a peacefulness, right? In running, it's the same thing. So I'm out of breath. My feet start to hurt. My knees start to hurt a little bit. And all I'm doing is doing a body scan I just cycle through it. Where are my feet landing? How are my knees? Where are my hips? And then can I tell you my favorite thing that I learned about running?
Just do tell.
This is going to change your life. If you are listening to this podcast right now and you don't like running, this is the key. I asked, and yes, I talk a lot about this and I talk about it in this episode about using AI, but I used ChatGPT to help me get some tips for running. AI has never run. It's never run at all. It gave me the best tip ever. With your hands. What do you do with your hands when you run? You make fists? You don't run, so
I don't run.
Yeah, you're not.
I can't.
So you can make a fist. I end up sometimes just like having my fist, but with my thumb sticking up, like I'm giving a thumbs up to everybody that I walk by.
That's a nice thing.
Sure, it's a little weird. It looks weird.
Yeah, but I mean, if I was running, I would like someone to give me a thumbs up.
Yeah.
It would make me feel, but I don't run, so yes.
Yes. So, so what it says is that for your arms, you want to keep your arms at the side of your body. So just not crossing over the front of you. So as you're running, your arms are pumping forward. They're held at about 90 degrees. And then your hands, imagine, this is my favorite part. Imagine that in your hand, you are holding onto a potato chip. And you're trying not to crush it or drop it. So as I'm going for my runs, I'll be like 2 miles in, I don't want to do this anymore, right? And I'm tired of it. But then I go through my body scan. Where are my feet landing? How are my knees feeling? How are my ankles? Like keeping my hips like squared, angled in front of me, making sure I'm not swaying too much, engaging my core, tucking my, like pressing my hips forward a little bit to avoid like a deep curve in my spine. Roll my shoulders back so my shoulders aren't coming up towards my ears. And then the potato chip. And I don't know what it is about the potato chip imagery, but it just keeps me going.
Well, to finish the conversation about that, the only thing that makes me think about, so you're going to be in Santa Monica. Imagine being on La Croisette in Cannes, eating potato chip with a cigarette and drinking a pastis. And that potato chip is just about perfection right there. So we have two different ways of handling a potato chip. You will be imagining it in Santa Monica.
Yes.
I am just imagining being
in France.
Eating
potato chips
with a cigarette and a
Caviar?
pastis. No.
Oh.
No, just down and dirty. Green olives, chips, pastis, a cigarette. The sun is shining. Yeah, that's about it. So,
all right, fair.
Different way of training with potato chip. Yours is healthier than mine. So yesterday after your run,
yes,
we did meet up and we went to the PDC.
To the PDC, yes. For the Love of Home. They had an event that was just one day. Normally their spring market is more of like a few days, but for this it was just a special event benefiting people who have been affected by the LA fires. And so we saw a panel at A. Rudin in their new space where they're going to be moving into, which is very exciting, with Ryan Jackson and Roger Davies and Paul McLean.
Yeah. And
hosted by Ari, who's like just the absolute best. I love her so much.
I know, huge fan. All of them there on stage was like, I was like, okay, big fan of.
And I was taking notes a little bit because they were talking about collaboration and also what it looks like for architects and designers to work together to build more sustainable homes due to, impending fire danger and things like that. And it was really fascinating. One of my favorite parts of it, because Ryan Jackson, a friend of ours, and actually one of the reasons why we are friends, because we both have him in common as a friend, and I've known him for a very long time, and we ran into our friend Justin Ware too, who's the two of them, like we both knew them separately. Right. And because of them, then now you and I are friends, which I love. But Ryan Jackson was there, and he was talking about how the relationship between an interior designer and an architect work. And one point that he made is that for an architect, you are really creating a vision, and it is the interior designer's responsibility to maintain that vision while also creating a space for someone's lifestyle. And how much research goes into the lifestyle and the culture and the heritage and just the way that somebody lives in their home. And I found that really interesting. That's sort of something that's been like going through my mind like a little hamster on a wheel all like since I saw it, because I was like, we consider it a lot. And actually in our episode today, we do talk with our guest about it as well. The lifestyle element of living in a space and the home part of it. I find it really fascinating that there are so many little facets to interior design that people from the outside wouldn't consider.
Right.
Yeah. And one of the examples that Ryan gave is that his the house that they were building was for an Orthodox Jewish family. And so there are certain rituals, just like things that you do in a culture and in tradition that maybe because he's not a part of that faith wouldn't have considered otherwise. And I find that so interesting and so cool.
It was really interesting. The other part of it is, to the point of creating a lifestyle. I love the fact that every designer that we have really emphasizes a lot on that topic. Be it the concept of romance with Robert Stuff, which was last week, right?
Yeah.
A great episode. And the way you talked about romance, and when you also described that new apartment that you went and visited, that box that had the sound, the sound was terrible, and
Yeah.
and it's like the tragedy that we had in January, and all those people thinking about how to rebuild our community. I mean, Altadena and Pacific Palisades, and really paying attention to those details, the lifestyle within the building. It's not just a box. It's not just a house. There's also someone living in there and having, so it's interesting because a lot of designers are really emphasizing it on that.
Ooh, also, so you know how I spend a lot of time on the internet, right?
Noticed?
Here and there. There is a trend that's coming up that I'm very excited about. And I'm not excited about trends because your home can't be a trend. Like, I
Right.
mean, you can update it as you want, but something that a lot of people are doing these days is adding more molding to their walls.
Yeah, that's a nice
It's
thing.
huge. It's huge. It's so popular. And I am a huge proponent of that. I'm a big fan because you look around this space at the Kimberly Denman showroom in Koreatown at the Talmadge building. This building is old.
Right.
And the best thing about it is the molding and the actual architecture of the building. And I do find it really interesting too, because as we've talked about, I am looking for a new apartment and going into these very cold, empty, hollow, boring boxes that there's no love in there. There's
Right.
no attention to detail that's been paid. It's really just that they're like looking for a place to, warehouse a bunch of humans. And then every once in a while you find that one special space where they didn't put the gray laminate flooring in, where it is like either hardwood or it's tile and there's molding and beautiful detail work. That sort of thing is just so charming. And I feel like that's really coming back. So I'm very excited about that. And since I've already been on that train, I'm excited to be able to stay on it.
Just stay on it. Well,
Yeah.
that's a good thing. And so to finish the day yesterday, we went to Thomas Lavin 25th.
Yes, we did. We went to the 25th anniversary of Thomas Lavin's showroom. The first iteration of it was on Beverly, and now it's at the Pacific Design Center. And it was such a perfect event. At the showroom, he had a mariachi band, and he and Dustin had their like bolo ties that were just, the fits were very like country western almost. It was really themed and fun.
An amazing turnout.
It was packed in there.
It was packed, and everybody came to, I don't know, pay respect, but support him.
Yeah,
Keep supporting him because
exactly.
he's been such a big supporter of our community. So it was really neat to see.
He's really a keystone in the design industry in Los Angeles. And I think yesterday it was really lovely to see how many people have been, just touched by what he's doing. And it's just because he has a passion for the art of design and he has a passion for art and to support designers and creators and makers, and being able to see John Pomp and his wife there too, because they were visiting from Philadelphia, and there were a handful of designers there that had traveled to come specifically for that event, which was really lovely. And
Eric Hughes came there.
Yes,
from
Eric
San
Hughes from
Francisco
San
to support.
Francisco.
Yeah, it's the beauty of. I guess I was touched because it's the beauty of our design community I'd say on the West Coast, because there were people from San Francisco that came down, and because we just came back from there, and I've spent so many years up there.
Yeah.
I'm touched. I don't know. It was pretty moving.
Yeah. It was really great. So we also want to say our thanks to Thomas Lavin. He supported us when we first got started. I think he's our third or so episode.
Yeah.
He's in the beginning, not third, but he's in the beginning. And for him to be so supportive and of what we're doing here, and we want to, pay that back too. So congratulations, Thomas Lavin, on 25 years. And thank you for all that you do for the community, truly. I mean, everyone is endlessly grateful, and just, it gives me a little bit of hope and reassurance that this really is a solid network of people that love what they do and love supporting each other. And it's really beautiful to witness.
And today we're interviewing someone from San Francisco that has an office down here. So it's another...
Yeah, speaking of the network,
right?
The network that you've been a part of for a very long time. How long? So our guest is Kendall Wilkinson. How long have you known Kendall?
Since kindergarten, 30 years ago.
Yeah. Amazing.
I will stick to that story.
Great,
Thank you
great.
very much.
You know what? Let's go with it.
Let's go with that.
She's had a long and really successful career. She is an incredible human being and a brilliant designer. She's not afraid to blend modern and antique furnishings together. She's a very unique style that can be more transitional and also traditional and also modern. She's really playful. She plays with color. She's bold. And she's pretty fearless. So we should get into our interview with Kendall Wilkinson.
We should.
Okay.
Let's go.
Welcome to Clutter Bravado. We are here with Kendall Wilkinson, incredible designer from San Francisco. How are you doing?
Great. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here. We've been trying to kind of chase you down for a little while. You are in demand. And when we were up in San Francisco, we were hoping to maybe sit down with you, but you have a million things going on all the time.
True.
But I'm so happy that you're here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here too.
Yeah.
100% for you guys. Anytime.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So what brings you to LA this time?
Work. And I have an office down here now. And I actually had a truck come and deliver furniture to 5 different families that have been displaced.
From the LA fires?
From the LA fires, yeah. So
wow.
That was great.
As designers, there's so much that you have to offer, whether it's like donating furniture or offering your services. Is there something that you feel is like sort of bubbling up now, like with this new need, like a way that you can further be of service to people?
Yeah, actually, and I'm doing a few things. So offering up furniture, I used to have a couple of stores, and and a lot of it was antiques, vintage pieces, which I am finding people really are loving.
Really?
Yeah, because I was concerned that, this may be too traditional for them, but everyone's like, no, we want this. I don't know. I think it just feels...
That's awesome.
It's awesome. I think because it feels comfortable and homey, and there's this, it just feels like it's been around for a long time, and so there's some kind of interesting psychological play on that, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Which is really, it was really, I had this thing last night. I was like, that's what it is. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, so we're doing that. And then also, even if you haven't lost your home, you have damaged furniture, you have things that you need to replace, and the price of something 20 years ago, 15, 10 years ago even, is different. So we're helping them with pricing to get to their insurance companies to help them understand the value of what they had and where they can go to refurbish it, purchase a new one. So I'm just trying to be available as I can to old clients who moved down here, who are in that situation, or new people that I'm just getting to know.
It's really interesting what you're talking about with antiques, because we think about getting new things and the excitement of having a new piece that's like freshly made for you, which you want. I mean, obviously, like custom furniture is huge and everyone is using it, but having the story behind an antique piece and the history behind it and how loved it's been over time, that is something that's really special about that.
I know, that's actually why I got into the antique business to begin with, is that I loved the stories behind it. And I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Red Violin, but it's about this violin that goes through even before Christ's time, the whole thing, and through, and then ends up, I won't spoil it, but it has these stories and these homes it lived in, and people it helped play for, you know? So that's kind of what I think the whole reason some of these people were so loved. They had, all the pieces had the tags on it and the Provence, and like, it was just a really beautiful thing to see. Because also we all think that, well, people want more modern look these days, which I still think is true, but it's nice to incorporate that piece here and there, and which I continue to do in my work too, is like take the modern and breathe some of this older, you know, the older pieces become newer because they're surrounded by these new pieces. So
Yeah.
And it feels like it's coming, that trend is coming back right now.
Yeah.
We were in Palm Springs where a lot of people bought, you know, vintage, and yeah, it seems that people want a little bit of that old.
I think they do, because I think it just is, it's there's something warming about it. There's like more texture to it. The patina on it is just, it's really rich.
It's like a sign of life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I don't even think people are, you know, some of the pieces I have the old keys that open the drawers or open the armoire, things like that, and they kind kind of love that.
Yeah.
Just don't want to lose the key. That's
No,
Right,
that's
we know that is just like not happy.
Have you had that experience?
Oh yes.
Yeah?
I think that we both had we had bags of keys, of all keys, because when you buy a piece and there's no key, you have to go try to look for, you know, something that's similar, and then you just adjust it. Old keys old keys are fantastic, but they are,
you got to somehow attach them. Yeah.
Well, that's really your style is really known for that blending the old and new, and playing with something that's a little bit more modern, putting your fingerprint on it, but also using these antique pieces. And that's one part of your style, but I know that it's growing too, and that you're sort of evolving your style. So how would you say that you're moving forward? Like, what does that look like for you?
So that's true. That is, you're absolutely right. That's been the majority of my style. It's evolved. Like, I'm a big believer of, we all need to evolve as, you know, life goes on and changes and everything. So we're constantly trying to evolve and kind of reinvent in a way, and up level things that we've done really well, and then put aside the things that we haven't seen work. So I'm a big believer of that we all need to like reflect and figure out, like, whether it's business or self or whatever, that you're reflecting enough to keep moving forward. Yeah. Because things are changing, and this industry is changing quite a bit. My mother was an interior designer, and going to the showrooms and flipping through, you know, fabric, you know, writing things on a pad, and you know, and literally physically always being in a showroom or a workroom. And now a lot more is being done online and with the technology. And I feel that you have to be a little careful about that, because touching and feeling is very different than what you see on a screen.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I'm doing more mentorship too with the team that I have, to build them up to understand that what they've learned in school, which is very different than what I learned, is super valuable. And it's this whole, like, looking at, like, you know, how I did things versus how they're taught things, and how we can learn from each other.
Yeah. And you also work with a lot of people who are in tech. A lot of your clients are, you know, big names in tech. And I wonder how that translates, how tech translates now into what it's like to be a designer, wanting to bring in the tangible and wanting to feel a fabric and sit in a chair, whether someone who is more like leaning into the advancements of technology, are they still craving that?
Yes.
Okay.
So they don't have, I once had a client who was, you know, kind of a big deal in tech, and we were told he had 45 minutes every time we met, and if we didn't get to him what he needed and he started looking at his phone, we were done. So we perfected it, but it was like everything was never coming to the showrooms, never sitting in a piece of furniture, and it was challenging, but that made us be much more diligent about scale, about how we, you know, comfort, you know, and trying to, in a short period of time, right? 45 minutes per meeting, which normally these meetings are like 2 hours at least, right? So that's a little bit about how it's changed. And then there's still a lot of my clients who, because they had a bad experience just buying things on screens, they are wanting to sit in furniture and go shopping at the showrooms, or, you know, go down to the workrooms and things. So I'm trying to convince people at least once to come with me and do that.
Yeah.
And then I can go from there. And so that's helping. It's much more of you have to be much more of an expert if they're not willing to physically come and see and touch things, if they're really just wanting everything on a screen. But I mean, a lot of the people I work with who are in tech don't have techie homes.
Okay.
But they want to see things visually. Like, we're doing a lot more renderings with AI. We're doing a lot of things that are much more visual in a computer, in the world of computers, in the world of AI, because of that. But I don't think this industry can go directly only to that, like a lot of other. There's just no way.
Yeah.
It won't be good design.
Yes.
It will be terrible.
Yes.
You know,
if it was just an aesthetic art, then design would be very easy to do online. You could very easily use AI to create something.
Right.
But because it is the experience of being a human being in your home and having to sit down and sometimes feeling warm and maybe sometimes feeling cold and needing like everything that is in your home, you are touching and you are interacting with in ways that aren't visual. And I think that's really telling too, that a lot of people in tech don't have very techie homes, that they also really want something that's going to feel calming and serene and removed from screens too.
100%.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are not wanting the desktop anymore. Like, they're wanting us to create spaces where they can go sit on, you know, a beautiful sofa comfortably with their laptop.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Or their iPad or their phone.
Yeah.
I mean, and so, like, that comfort and upholstery is even more important now, because, you know, I remember when, you know, my mother, you know, when I was younger and my mother was designing it, that was only for cocktail parties. You know, you never went into the room.
Exactly.
You would stand around, or people would be there for the cocktail party, but it wouldn't be comfort. It was aesthetic was much more important than function.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's changed a lot. And actually, even 10 years ago, I think I would say that it's very different than even just 10 years ago, which was, people were saying to me, I want to have my office space feel like home, and I want my home to feel like a hotel spa.
Right.
You know, and that's changed because a lot of people aren't working in an office anymore. So how do we create kind of the home that does it all? And, you know, and a lot of people have, because of the pandemic, wanted more, you know, they're having more dinner parties. They're having more, just it's become, the home is much more focused now than it used to be. And I think it's going to continue to be that way for a little longer, but I don't know that how long it's like, and I don't want to say it's a trend, because it's not trendy, but it's definitely what's happening now. So it's like, that's again, like ebbing and flowing in this design world as you see the needs. I mean, that's what we try to do.
Absolutely. During COVID, we lost a lot of our third places, the places that you can leave that's not work, that's not home, but somewhere where you can go and hang out with your friends.
Right.
So your home becomes your office. It becomes where you sleep and where you want to rest, and then also where you're entertaining. And I think that when you're working with a client that has the space to be able to do that, that it probably allows a little bit of playfulness in the design process, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
You get to sort of be more creative about what kind of energy you want to bring into a certain space. So what would be the difference between creating an office that feels like home and creating an office in a home that is more centered on productivity?
That's a really good question, because for us, people, like I have this young couple, she's in tech, he's in finance, they have a little kid, and it's not a huge space. It's kind of their starter home. So it's like, because it's a young child, they want to be around it, but, you know, they're young too, and they're, you know, on their computers a lot. So it's like, how to create kind of like this play area and comfort zone for her, the little girl, and then each of them, you know, in their own workspace. It has a lot to do. We do a lot of work with space planning, with furniture layouts. We tape things out. I do not trust that everything on CAD is exactly the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And that a lot of my team is like, oh my God, here she goes again. It's like, but I'll never forget, cut once, measure twice, right?
Absolutely.
That old rule. So it's a lot, there's a lot more education, communication that goes on than it used to be. It used to be, at least for me, it used to be like, here's the sofas and the chairs and the tables that I think you to have. And they would say, okay, fine. But the audience that we're actually designing for is much more educated. So because they see things online, they don't necessarily know like the difference between a restoration hardware piece and something else. And I spend a lot of time educating people about that. And because it is not the same.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Yeah, it's not.
No matter what.
Yeah.
It's just not.
I've been looking through a bunch of your work, and you are not afraid to play with color. You are not afraid to make bolder choices for a home. And so I wonder how, not in a trend way, but as your style is evolving and for the homes that you're creating now post-COVID, do you feel like people are really craving color and craving more excitement in the home too? Yeah.
100%. And that excitement piece that you said is really accurate. I mean, we have, I don't know if you saw the house that is pink.
Yes. Yeah.
So which was even a lot for me, but it was so much fun. This woman had gorgeous taste. She has 4 young kids, entertained philanthropically a lot, and she really wanted this pink living room. And because the living room, dining room, it was a ground up construction in the South Bay in San Francisco, or in the Bay Area, and we literally was like working off of the pink, which again is exciting. It's also challenging because you don't want to get bored of it. A lot of people don't do color all the time because they think they're going to be bored, or they're going to get sick, or it's going to be too much. And the challenge with color, which is something I think we do really well, is make sure that doesn't happen. So that 10 years down the way, you're like, oh my God, did I really paint this room? Or even 5 years pink. But there's so much more comfortable furniture in it. And we create these moments, and artwork plays off of color really importantly too. So, and it doesn't feel busy. There is this calming factor in this particular space because the other colors are a little bit more toned down. They're a little more grounding. There's a lot of natural light. And then when we use color in all the different spaces, it's like, well, what is this room used for? And maybe it is drama and mood and dark and moody. And then in other areas, it's pink, but there's this light, bright feeling, and the door is open to the pool. And so it feels like more like Beverly Hills Hotel, in the 50s kind of a thing. If I were to look at that color, even we did render it on a screen, it is not the same. You have to go and put the different swatches up and touch and feel the fabrics. And it's so important because what you see, even with all the different AI rooms that are, I'm scrolling through Instagram going, that is not a real room.
Right.
Yeah.
That it looks great, but it's not a real room. And that's the other thing with these rooms that we design. It's like, there are going to be a few kind of interesting flaws here and there.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's where the antiques come in because they're, lovingly been used for 200 years and it's not perfect, but that neither are we as humans.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, there's something much more interesting to me about a room that has like character to it. Comfort and scale are always, those are a non-starter. You have to have those, but everything else can kind of build around that. But seeing it and touching it and feeling it, I think is still so vital in this industry.
Sort of post-pandemic, we got really used to being on the computer all the time and looking at screens all the time. And that's kind of where this like AI interiors thing sort of popped up. I believe, I know that it started before that, but that's when we really leaned into it because we weren't able to go to any house that might have this color wall or, but we had this desire to turn our homes into something that's a little different. And I've shared on the show many times about my my feelings about AI interiors, because I used to make them for a designer that I worked with, and it's great for inspiration. It's so fun for inspiration, but nothing that you can create using AI is going to give you the feeling of being in a room
True.
that is decorated in the same
Yeah.
way. And also, there's so many flaws when it comes to like color and like the actual physical makeup of it. Like sometimes it's impossible. Like they'll
Yeah.
build an impossible room, and you can try to like narrow it down to exactly how you want it, but AI is just not. It's not there yet, and it also is so obvious that it's AI.
I know.
And I also scroll through Instagram, and every once in a while I'll see a fake room, and I'm like, I'm known to comment.
Right.
Do you really? That's
Oh, I
awesome.
do.
Yeah,
I'm like, but always in a nice way. Where I'm like, oh my gosh, what an incredible AI rendering! I love this. What a beautiful way to use, AI for
That's
inspiration.
so good. I
And just
love that.
yeah, I
That's
mean,
awesome.
I'll call it out because there's too much of it that's trying to pass for
Yeah.
a real room, and it's giving us an inaccurate idea of what it would be like to be in that space.
Right. And what it takes to create the space.
Exactly.
'Cause
Exactly.
It's easy to just like see like how quickly one can do a rendering, but then to actually implement it, to put it into place, to like, because there's so much more to design than just picking furniture and fabrics. There, it's like there's a whole skill around it, a whole production around it. So many people involved, and like, and again, what AA doesn't do well is scale.
Yeah,
And that's
yes,
huge.
yes. It's huge. It's one of the
huge.
most important parts of
Yeah.
design, and getting an idea of what a space is going to look like.
And
I agree.
also think that I've seen you with your client. We've known each other for a couple of years, and
Just a
How
couple.
how many years now?
just a couple.
We don't.
Just let's put it this way: when I started my business, we used to still send postcards to promote.
I love that. We should
things,
still do it.
and-
Whatever.
And Kendall was number 2 on my mailing list,
I
and it was
love
just
it.
a little bit ago. But I've seen you work with your clients, and I think that the connection you have with them, the understanding you have with them, of their family, that you cannot do it with AI. And I think that's,
Right.
I mean, not your biggest asset, but you're involved with those people.
Yeah.
And that's where AI, I just can't.
I was one of my employees. We were doing some work on, a design, and I said, "How often do you use ChatGPT?" And she goes, "Oh, I use it all the time." And I said, "Okay, give me an example of how you use it." So we went through this thing, and it was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so crazy," because we were doing a window at Design LA, and we were using it for that. And then she said, "Sometimes ChatGPT actually answers me better than my therapist and gives me better advice than my own therapist." And I was like, wow. And that to me is maybe true for her in some way, but I was like, no, you need a person, you need that physical, emotional, so
sure.
to your point of what you're saying, it's like that's why meeting someone in person, even, a lot of times I have an interview today actually on Zoom. And it's like, I do want this person to meet me in person though, because it's a whole different feeling. And that's one thing that my mother used to do well. I know I do well. And I'm really teaching my team to do it, is that human connection and really listening. And the listening is what I know that, you listen, you hear it, and then you take your expertise of what they've said or what you think they're saying, and then you put it into practice, because in body language, and like somebody may be saying, oh yeah, this blue fabric, and it's actually a little bit of a green hue to it, and picking up on the nuances of that, versus if everybody's just chatting on a screen or over email, you cannot get, it's that, again, that whole process. This industry is about human connection, even down to going to the workroom, the person building your chairs, and like talking to them and understanding why your design may need to be a little different, because they're the ones actually physically making the piece.
Yes.
Yeah, or I mean, I had a client here that came and sat down on the chair, and it just didn't work. Her feet were not touching the floor. Now, I was able to offer, but you have to come and sit down, and that client was just, So it's like those personal connections. I'll finish my sentence. Those connections or that physical, part is so important.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, there is something that is, it's not something that you can really explain. But there is a real difference in between interacting with someone through Zoom. I know that especially during like lockdown and everything, I'm at home by myself. I'm connecting with a lot of people online. I started meeting them in person. I'm like, oh, I feel differently about you.
Right.
Like you might be really fun to talk to over a screen, but like I get a very different and I know I don't want to be too LA when I say this, but like vibe. Like you get a vibe from people. Mm-hmm. And but that's a huge part of being human. And when it comes to using ChatGPT, like this is a little bit off on a tangent, but using ChatGPT as a therapist or, things like that, like when you are working with AI, you're not allowing the necessary flaw of being a human being. We are all inherently flawed and nobody is perfect. And when you're talking with another person, both of you are flawed human beings and you're not setting yourself up against this expectation of perfection or the ideal of how something is supposed to be. In design, you want to get as close to perfection as you can, but you're never going to.
Right.
And that's what's beautiful about it, because this is a home, again, that you're going to live in, that like maybe you move a piece of furniture in, and within like 1 week, you get a ding in something, or like you get a stain on something. That's what's great about it. That's what you want. And, and I feel like that's missing when you're only working with AI or coming up with ideas via AI, that it's not allowing for that human interaction with each piece and with the space.
That is really true. And this is for another topic or another show or whatever, but my son is graduating from college this year and his thesis is on exactly that.
Really?
How they're trying to duplicate emotions of people in AI and they can't.
Yeah.
Because everybody is inherently flawed. How you would respond to the same question is different than you, different than me. Right. So that's interesting. I'll let you read it when he's.
Yeah, I'm really interested
if one
in that.
can even understand it.
Usually there's this.
Yeah, that is really fascinating, actually. The idea that we are trying to recreate human emotion when we're like humans have them. We could just talk to somebody. You know what I mean? We can just talk to each other. That's what I love about this podcast, though, is that the whole purpose of us creating this was so that we could start having conversations. I learn from talking to people. When someone explains something to me, I'm more likely to really absorb it. Like it's likely to stay. If I'm just reading something or just looking at something, when I have a conversation about it, that's when I learn. I feel like a lot more people are like that too. Then it's not really acknowledged that way, that we learn by talking to each other and connecting with each other.
Right.
There is something that's really special about that.
Yes. And that's true in to the point of design. I mean, we sit with people for a lot of time before we, again, and I try to encourage, even if we're experts, we still need to listen, because a lot of times it's like, well, I know more than you, so I'm going to put my agenda on you. But that's not how human interaction should work, A. And B, it doesn't give me the opportunity to hear really what that person's saying, because they aren't experts. They don't always know the right way to describe something. Mm-hmm. Like recently I had someone say, well, I want a chaise to be in my child's bedroom because I want to be able to go sleep in there if they're having a rough night or whatever. And then, in my head, I'm thinking what a chaise is, and I'm like, I wouldn't want to sleep on that. I mean, it's comfortable to lie down and read a book, but to sleep all night long. So then we kind of got to, what you want is actually a day bed, and we can make it. But so there's these little nuances of things that play out while you're in conversation. Yeah. And you have to be in order to get to good design, I think.
Yeah. So I want to get back to you and your your current evolution and sort of like the reinvention of what Kendall Wilkinson design looks like. So you're about to release a book, aren't you?
Yes.
Yes. I am. Okay. Tell me about the book.
So the book is being published by Point of Leaf Press, and it's I have to say, it's a very beautiful book. Mm. It's a great coffee table book, and it's, over 30 years of work is not in the book because that's a lot of work. And it was really very cathartic to go through and pick what I had to, because I love all the projects, most of the projects that we've done, but I only put 12 in the book.
Oh, wow.
So it's really, it took a lot of editing. It was not an easy process. And then the theme behind the book is also, women are very important in my life, like strong women. My great grandmother was a writer and a political activist, and my grandmother was an antique dealer and an artist, and my mother, a single working interior designer, and I was a single working mom for years, and my girlfriends played a big part of that. So this book is also about the strength that it, to get where I am and to even where my mother was, with the strength of the women that played a role in our lives. So there's a lot of personal anecdotes, some personal pictures and things along those lines. But it was very it helped me also, look at the body of work I've done and what again has worked and what didn't work, and to make sure I don't repeat those mistakes again, or repeat things I wasn't super proud of, you know, in every area of my life. But basically it was just, it's a beautiful book, and it's coming out in May.
Awesome.
So I'm really excited
That's
about it.
really exciting.
Yeah.
And this is your first book?
It is, yeah.
Oh, wow. So you have so much work that you've done over you said 30 years? You said 30 years, so I'm just quoting you.
Okay.
But you've done so much work. How was the experience of narrowing it down to just those 12 projects?
Well, again, like anything creative, it's what does it look good on the page?
Yeah.
Right? So it may be that there's a beautiful home I did that, depending on how it was photographed, maybe didn't make the book flow. So we couldn't use it. So it was also there's all that, how is it placed in the book? That's more of the technical part of it.
Yeah.
But also I did want the work to represent what really is the evolving of where I was to where I am. So there's a ton of evolvement, and there's also, I'm a more trained classical interior designer, but we are doing a lot more modern work for all the reasons that we, talk about in California with tech, with, just people wanting more of that, but still interspersing, the antiques here and there, or something of character.
Yeah.
So I wanted that to show the flow of that. So there's a beautiful home that, there's two homes that nobody's ever seen before.
Okay.
Whether on social media or my website, and one is incredibly modern and one is incredibly traditional, probably one of the more traditional homes I've ever done.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it's just, and then there's the in between. So it just shows the breadth of the work. And I always say, this is where we are good at what we do, because we do listen and we're able to say, we're not a one-track signature designer. We can do that modern and we can do that traditional and all of the in between. So, but it was hard, and I needed my publisher and my writer, co-writer, to help me with everything, because it was hard, because you're also hard on yourself, and you're like, oh, that didn't look good, or oh wow, that actually looks really good, and then they'll say, we can't do it.
Oh,
and it's like, oh, okay. So it was a wonderful process. So.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up too, the generations of women that have led to where you are in your career right now, all of the women that have supported you along the way. Do you feel that there is an inherent disadvantage to being a woman in interior design, or that you feel that it's something that's sort of, each person has their own personal experience with it?
That's a good question. I go in and out of that answer because it depends. But ironically, I feel it more, I'm not saying it's a disadvantage, but there is this, a woman running a business, if she acts like a man, is considered a bitch. Sorry, can I say that?
You can say it, it's fine.
But I don't like to go into anything I do thinking that because I'm a woman or, that it's, but it's a little bit like that, but not enough, especially in this industry.
Yeah.
And I do know there's a couple of, there are times when I'm not getting a job and I'm losing it to a man. And I recently lost a job to somebody that we all know who is a very dear friend of mine who is going to remain not named. And he and I compete against each other all the time. And I was told that the husband wanted a man because he thought the wife would make decisions more easily if it was a man.
Interesting.
Which was really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've never ever had that before.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, but so I would say I see it a little more now than I have, but which is weird because you'd think there was evolvement, but I wouldn't say it's an issue enough to have it come up on a regular basis.
Yeah, I know that we've had a few other guests that we've had a lot of incredible women designers on this podcast, and they've been so inspiring to me, and you are as well. So I appreciate you being here. But something that I've noticed is sort of a through line is that there's for those who are the most successful women designers, you're not afraid to come off as a bitch sometimes if you need to. That someone might perceive you that way. Stand your ground. Know that you are an expert in your field, while also being willing to listen. Obviously, not like commanding everyone around you to do everything to your will, but knowing that you are allowed to be confident. You're allowed to be to stand in your power and know that you are capable of doing a job. And sometimes that could mean if you have like a male client or a colleague or someone that you're like quote unquote competing against, I guess, who wants to meet you with this energy of like, no, you must listen to me, that you can instead stand your ground. And I think that just that standing your ground can sometimes mean that you come off as being bitchy. Oh, I hate that. But it's so important to not be afraid of that, to not be afraid of someone seeing you that way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true.
And I think that in our industry, you have to deal with vendors, you have to deal with clients, you have to deal with workroom, you have to deal. It's a multifaceted. Mm-hmm. So I think that women, and it's nice because I'm biased, but I think that strong women are fantastic. I think, and I look up to you. I think that, but you can listen to your clients maybe a little bit better. You can listen to the women a little bit better. And yet you have to be a businesswoman because it's not an industry that's just, fluffing pillows. Right. So you have to have that confidence. You also went to France and bought antiques and did containers. You pushed the envelope to the nth degree in our industry, I think. And I think that you have to train people, and I think that you exemplify that power. You're fantastic.
Thank you.
I
appreciate
how much but it's impressive.
Yeah, I agree.
No, thank you. Yeah, thank you. No, I really keep it on. No, it's interesting, and that is part of what the book. I was like, wow, look at what you have done, because I think all of us sometimes don't pause enough to realize, oh wait, I did get to this point. Okay. Because we're always, I think entrepreneurs in particular, they are getting where they get. We are getting where we get because it's like it wasn't good enough. We need to be doing this differently, this better. And that can be really exhausting too.
Yeah.
But that's why it's important to kind of just say, here's, to continue to do the things that you want to do. So like writing the book, because, I am running a business now, right? So the creative part, I'm having to continually make sure it's a part of my being because I need that. And so the book was really helpful in that. And then the other thing is I actually, which is not about interior design, but I used to sing in a rock band, and I've started singing again.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah, and I'm actually written, and I'm writing and singing the songs, and other people are playing them. But
that's so fun.
So it's really fun.
Yeah,
it's really fun. So but it's hard to take the time to do that. Also, so this has also been a long process. So we'll just Yeah, so
That is
and it's
so
for
fun.
myself,
I love
by
that.
the way.
Yes.
It's not for public.
awesome.
Yeah, so it's fun. It's really
That's
fun.
really great. I'm also a musician, so
Oh,
but
are you
I also
really? Oh, wow.
haven't written anything new in ages now.
I know, because
but-
you get one gets like stuck in there, which is fine because
Yes,
you're doing
it's
it
where I'm at
well,
right
and
now,
then
yeah.
then you have to say, okay, I'm going to take a break for however long it is
Yeah.
and do that.
But that's so exciting that like
Yeah.
it's great to have an example of someone coming back to what they really love doing, just even if it's as a hobby, or just that creation.
Yeah.
It's so important. I love that.
Yeah,
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. We'll see.
Yeah. Well,
It might just be listening to it in the shower or something like that.
that counts still. Listen, I have an album on Spotify. And
you do?
I do. And I have
wait, I have to
two
know what that
listeners.
You have 2 listeners?
I do, and they are my parents. I don't think anyone
That's
else has listened to
awesome.
it in a year. And I mean, honestly, I love it. Like, I love that it exists. It was a snapshot in time of something that I did and that I get to feel really proud of, that I don't need anyone to,
Right.
you know, like, I don't need like crowds of people to listen to it. When I
Right.
first made it, I was really hoping that would happen. But what I realized is that the real reward of it was just doing it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to have to find it, and I might be the third one.
God.
You're not listening?
I did listen
Oh,
to
okay.
it. I did listen to it. Of
Okay,
course I did.
like once. It's fine. No, because I'll be
But I did listen to it.
absolutely not. Okay. So let's move on. I know that you have a lot going on today, and so I want to make sure that you're able to like catch up with everything. But we have 3 questions that we ask all of our guests, and
Okay.
so I am going to ask those of you.
Okay.
I think that you probably did your homework a little bit and
I
like
did,
know what
yeah.
the questions
well,
are.
yeah.
But so my first question for you is, what is the messiest place in your home?
Well, I actually am quite a neat freak, but if I have to come up with it, which is not too difficult, and those who have been to my house and have seen my kitchen counter because of me spreading out paper, I'm still a big paper person. I
Okay,
know we're
yeah.
talking about all this technology. Everything gets printed. Sorry, environment, but like everything gets printed, and so I have papers and Post-its and pens, and so all of the like this whole island in my kitchen is cluttered.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you take time occasionally to like organize it, or is it sort of organized chaos that you know where everything is?
It's pretty
and-
organized
okay.
chaos. However, like we had a dinner party on last Friday night.
Okay.
It all just goes in a bag,
In a bag.
in a closet, and then it comes out, and I'm like, oh no, now what do I can't find it. And then my poor assistant's like, I gave that to you twice. And now I have to print it out again.
Oh my
So,
gosh, I love it. Thank you for
so-
your honesty on that. Okay, my second question for you is, what is your favorite space, either in your home or in a home that you've designed?
So I'm very fortunate, you know, I love my house. I love it. I feel very blessed to be able to be in it. And it was very unloved. And so I put a lot of love in it. When I bought it, it was a total disaster. And the boys and I lived in it for a couple years before we did anything with it. So I have this room that I call the sanctuary, which is up on the top floor, and there's a little teeny view of the Golden Gate Bridge, and it's blue. It's this really deep, rich blue, and a gold ceiling, and it just like there's something very zen about it, and I can meditate up there, and just there's a wood burning fireplace still there,
Oh, wow.
and so it's just beautiful, and it just
Wow.
feels like very calming,
Yeah.
you know, when you need it. But it's a great space.
With the fog coming in.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Oh, that sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
It's really cool because it is like, you know, when there's fog, you can't. It's like you're up high enough that you know you are literally in a cloud, and then when it's a clear day, I see the headlands and, like I said, a little teeny part of the bridge, and it's great. So,
Oh, that's beautiful. I also love that you created a space in your home called the sanctuary.
yes,
I need
Yeah.
to create a
I think
sanctuary in my
everybody
home.
needs
Yeah.
that.
we all need a sanctuary,
Yes.
and it doesn't have to be big.
Wow.
That's a really interesting thing because that's a conversation that we had, and we were talking about how we, in interior design, we can influence, you know, do we influence our clients or not? And with the technology and the chaos, you know, creating, like pushing your clients to be like, why don't we create a sanctuary for you? You know, and that
Yeah, That's a good idea.
How do you
Yeah.
feel about that?
I like that idea. We don't always do that. I mean, I just thought of something that's interesting, because I have a lot of people coming back, after years of working with me, and their life circumstances have changed for whatever reason. And like, they bought a 1,200 square foot pied-à-terre, and they want to make sure they have a little bit of a sanctuary for themselves, or a place their kid can come and spend the night, but it's 1,200 square feet or 800. So in one case, it was 800 square feet. But even if it's just like this kind of, your sofa and a table next to you, but it's all your favorite things, and there's somehow you're cocooned in it. I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, I think that there's, we talked about that. We talked also, I talked, like, if I had a client with a younger child, I would push them to have a bookcase in the bedroom.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like, and I know it's like hard because I'm pushing an agenda on the client, which I'm known for that. But I'm French, so I can be an asshole.
And get away with it.
And well, halfway. But yeah, it's interesting that we have, we can have that impact. On,
Yeah, definitely. And that's
especially-
why hopefully and you want it to be a positive impact,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm gonna get the same. I'll give you credit for that.
For the next
For the
sanctuary.
For the
next
next sanctuary. I love it. Okay.
Come up with it.
I have one more question for you.
Yes.
And that is, when you walk into a new space, what is the first thing that you notice?
Well, so I take the architecture. I'll
Yeah.
say that the architecture, whether it's a box in a high rise that has soffits everywhere because that's where they're hiding everything, or a beautiful home with crown molding and things. So I always take in the architecture, and I don't even see the furniture that's in the space, because I really believe that whether it's the first beginning part, the first part of the design, or the end of the design, you should go in and take a whole room in at one time. Because if you're looking at like, oh, I love the sofa, I love the table, I love the chair, and you're not looking at the whole room, that means to me it was a fail. Because that
I
means
see.
you're picking out each individual piece that isn't all flowing together
Yeah.
in a continuous continuity way.
Yeah.
So the architecture is really important.
Yeah.
And then I ignore, typically, because you go into a space and it's got somebody's old furniture or staged furniture or something, and so I kind of have to ignore that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that because not that many people have said the architecture. But
That's
I
true,
don't know
yeah.
that if it's also because working in the Bay Area where you've done high rise now, because I know you've done a few projects
Yeah.
in those new, and then you have the South Bay where you have those traditional homes or those big Italianate things, or the more
Right.
traditional house in the city,
Yeah.
where you have really like architecture is so important and so different. And I'm
It
not
really
saying
is,
you're right.
yeah. It is, because I don't like the two fighting against each other. And it doesn't mean in a modern box you're going to put only modern furniture. But I also think that, as even in this beautiful space, like it's a classically architecturally designed building with more modern furniture, and it looks gorgeous, right?
Yeah.
It's like very comforting and inviting. So I think you have to take all that in. And the other thing is that in architecture are the windows. And like when I do a home or an apartment, I should say, in New York, their window treatments are really important. But in California, they're not as important, because you want to get from the inside out is how I design mostly in California. But in New York, it's more like, what does this space feel like? Because your neighbor's like right there.
Right there,
And,
yeah.
And, it's like, how do we kind of bring you back in? So it just depends on where or even in Jackson Hole, which I do a lot of work there, it's kind of half the window treatments are important, half of them aren't, because they're only really important for functionality, because some of these homes are in the middle of nowhere, and you want to see the Tetons, and you want to see
Yeah.
the ranch around you and things like that. So every space is also different to the location, just even in the Bay Area, like you suggested. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Kendall, you're amazing.
Oh my God! Thank you.
Yeah, it has been such a joy to have you on. I think we had like a longer conversation than we normally do. I just like really enjoy talking to you, and I've learned a lot from you.
Thank you.
And again, I'm endlessly inspired by you. I'm really looking forward to the release of your book. Is there anything else that you want to plug?
My fabrics.
Yes, 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 yes.
My fabric line, the third collection with Fabricut. Yeah, they're doing really well. They're very happy. So it's kind of like there are very few that are like kind of subtle. They're back to the color thing, pattern. I've taken like classic, we bought documents of classic fabrics that were very traditional in concept, but then blowing them up and jagged edging the round, like making more linear edges to more round, like flowers and things like that. So it's really fun.
That's great.
Yeah.
Anything else in the pipeline that you can talk about in terms of
Other
collaboration?
license work, but I can't say who.
Can't say yet.
Okay,
All right,
okay.
But
we'll let you
lighting
back for that.
and furniture and carpets and things like that. So
Nice.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
That's
Thank
so
you.
great.
Well, thank you both. I've known Laurent forever, but it's great to be here, and thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.